So, having said all of that, now I have asked Rick to read the 12 traditions for us. You know what I forgot to say? There is a tradition in this group that for every candle on your cake, you must go down to Intergroup and donate $1 per candle for your sobriety. So I will be doing that for sure, probably tomorrow. Thank you. I only say that so you will all do that too, because it's a good thing to do. Okay, normally we have a long speaker, and then on the last Thursday of the month we have birthday night and 3 short speakers. So isn't it very exciting that we're going to have some nice young short speakers tonight? And the shortest of our short speakers, if you'll help me, welcome Bob.
Hello everybody, my name is Bob and I'm an alcoholic. I don't know why I'm nervous. I've been talking all my life. But just give you the short form, because it's short speakers. I grew up to a loving mother. She's a beautiful mom, and an alcoholic father. My father was in the Air Force, and he was stationed in London and met my mother, and they got married, and she was disowned by her family because she married an American. But my sister was born in London, and then they moved. My father was stationed in Dover, Delaware at the Air Force Base, so me and my 3 brothers were born at Dover's Air Force Base. But so anyways, what it was like was, like I said, the 2 memories I have of my father is my father throwing his dinner at the wall one night, and then years later when he got out of the Air Force, him and my mom had been separated for a long time, but she let him come to stay with us because he didn't have anywhere to stay. And I remember him standing in the living room and shaking and practically crying and said, "Margaret, I need a beer." And my mom, with her Irish accent, not be drinking in this house, And then my older brother ran him off because my brother looked at him and he was weak, and so he ran my father off. And then we didn't hear of my father again until I was 13 years old, and he died from cirrhosis. They found him in a motel room down in Van Buren. He weighed 78 pounds. 21 years in the Air Force, got out, a year later died. But anyways, back to me. A lot of things happened to me as a child. I was molested when I was 6 years old. I was held back in the 1st grade and the 3rd grade. And I got sent to the boys' ranch when I was 11 years old. When I got out of the boys' ranch, I was 13 years old, and I moved out to 40th Street and Bell Road in North Phoenix. And I was in the 6th grade now. All my classmates were 10 and 11, and I was 13, and I was already called by the teacher Mr. Damaris instead of Bobby, and I think that's ironic. But, and so, at that time, when I was 13 years old, what do you tell your friends? "Oh, my dad died from cirrhosis, I was locked up, I'm 2 years behind, I was molested," And so I was a tough guy, I wore a mask right away. And that's when I started drinking and doing a lot of other outside issues. And my stepfather, who was an alcoholic, he was a bad alcoholic, but he never drank at home. He was never abusive to us. But he'd come home with the snotty nose running and pass out on the couch till dinner time and stuff. And he used to always tell me, and we'd be sitting at the dinner table, and he'd look at me. I had long hair down to the center of my back, like we did in the 70s. And he'd say, "Bobby, I'll tell you what I'm going to do." And I'd look at my mom. She'd say, "Oh, no, I'm going to buy you a dress." And I'd fucking get up and storm out of the house, go across the street and start, smoking. And, so I was smoking cigarettes from the age of 7 years old and drinking. But my stepdad, one thing is he had a box underneath his bed, a cardboard box full of those little airplane bottles of booze. I used to sneak them out and take them to school with me. That's when I was in the 6th grade, and we'd go over to the back of the field, and we'd all drink them little bottles of booze and stuff. And so, this went on. I started going to the kegger parties, out in the desert. We used to have live bands out in the desert, and and I went to Keggers, and so I drank a lot, and I always did more than my friends. Always had to have more of whatever I was doing. Like I said, I did a lot of outside issues too, and I always did more than everybody else. And I remember when my friends all started turning 17 and 18 and getting jobs and getting married and stuff, and I just kept on, and it was like not everybody wanted to hang around with me anymore because I was such a raging, alcoholic and a lot of other things. And so I started hanging around another group of people, and these were I had some friends I hung around with whose father had just got out of prison for a murder sentence, and he was in the Aryan Brotherhood, and I'm like, hey, cool. So I hung around him for a while, and so I went on drinking and using, and I ended up going to prison. I did 5.5 years, and I got out, and I'm still drinking and using, and then I went back to prison again for a second time, and I got out, and I was drinking and using, and then I went back to prison for a third time, and so I did 14 years in prison. And while I was in prison the last time, I was sitting in my bunk one day, and I didn't have anything. I had no hygiene. I've traded my TV, my cassette player, everything I had for dope and hooch and stuff, and I was just sitting there one day, and I just thought, man, and that's when I finally hit bottom. It's not, you would think using and drinking and having all these problems, was bottom after bottom. It wasn't. When I finally decided I needed help, I needed to do something, that's when I hit bottom, when I finally reached out. And so I started, I went to a guy that I met in prison who was into recovery, and I said, I need to do something, man. And he said, well, come to a meeting. And so I started going to meetings. And my first few meetings, I couldn't even talk. They'd go around the table, and when it got to me, I'd get that big lump in the throat, couldn't swallow it down, tears would come in my eyes. And I was just broken, I was 53 years old, and I was just, I was in there, so many years in prison and using and drinking and stuff that it's like, I was just broken. I was just done. I had a mother that I loved dearly that was dealing with, she beat cancer, and she was doing dialysis and stuff. And I thought, I may never see my mom again because, and I'm real close to my mom. I love her so much. And she ended up dying after, my sister brought her to see me on my 3rd year of sobriety. And I didn't even recognize her. She'd lost like 100 pounds, and she was. Nobody warned me. They didn't send me any pictures of her or nothing. It's like, wow. But she did get to see me clean and sober, and but it was in prison, so it kind of sucked. But I love her so much. I still love her. I miss her every day. But while I was in prison, before my mom passed away, my little brother passed away, and so I lost my younger brother and my mom both. I lost my younger brother to his addiction, and I lost my mom to her kidneys failed her. But what happened was, so I've got 3 years sober by the time I got out of prison, and then I went another 3 years. When I did the program, I did the steps in prison. I wrote everybody I know in my family, all my family members, in a men's letter. And when I got out of prison, that's as far as it went. I never went and made any amends or anything, And so I still had a lot of things bother me, and there were still things that I hadn't ever shared with anybody, even in my, my 5th step. So there was a lot of things going on in my head, and I'm real bipolar too. I'm either happy and smiling, or I'm F you, don't talk to me, I'm really just boom, boom all the time, really bad. And I can't stand it, but sometimes I'm just like that, But anyways, I was at 6 years sober last April, and if you'd have asked me on my 6th year if I'd ever drink or use again, I'd said, no way, man. I can't remember one good time of drinking or using that. There's nothing good about any of it. I don't have any good memories of it. I'm 59 years old now, so Those was a long time ago I had fun. It was a long, long time ago that I had fun. It became a nightmare years and years ago, and that's basically all I remember. I mean, I used to walk the streets of Phoenix digging in dumpsters. I was a dumpster diver, that's what we called them. And I'd walk around digging through people's trash, and talking to myself and just wigged out and gone. And so I thought I was doing all right, it's 6 years sobriety, and then somehow I talked myself into thinking it'd be okay to smoke medical marijuana. And so I started doing that. And I did that for about 4 months. And I was looking at my cell phone. It's a lot of the pictures I got on there of my nieces and nephews and my great nieces. And I'm a great uncle now, And I was just thinking of what that's taken from me. That's going to take everything from me again if I keep doing this. So I quit, and I started coming to meetings, and I shared at a meeting one day that I had relapsed and that I was just done with it, And then I met Mike Bennett, and he took me through the steps, and I shared things with Mike that I've only told a couple of people in my life, and that took a lot of pressure off me. But life is good now. I've got 3 months sobriety. I still struggle a lot with my bipolar, and it's something I'm working on. It's like when they say when agitated, I don't do nothing. I get angry, when I'm agitated, and it happens fast and bad. So I'm working on that now. So I've got 3 months sobriety. I just I've met a lot of people in this safe harbor. I've been coming here for a couple of years now. And I've met a lot of good people and people that understand me. They don't really know me that well yet, but I'm feeling better all the time. I'm struggling with some things right now with Social Security Department and stuff, and I'm stressed out today, projecting all kinds of stuff that ain't happened yet. Reed tells me to quit doing that. Well, I'm up here right now thinking about it, But I love all you guys, man. I just love smiling. I just love being Bobby. The first time I heard myself laugh after I got sober, it was like, wow, who's that, Because I hadn't laughed in a long time, When you live that many years in prison and doing the things that I've been doing, besides drinking, you learn to be hard, you learn to put on that persona where don't come near me, don't talk to me, And but anyways, I'm working on it. I love all you guys. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Bob. And that bipolar thing gets better, I feel like, any day now. That gives you any hope. Our next speaker, our middle short speaker tonight, is Chris R. Please help me welcome Chris.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, there's nothing really miraculous or different about my story. I'm probably one of the luckiest alcoholics there is. I never really got into a lot of trouble. I did get in some, but I never, there were so many times that it could have ended up different, but I was very lucky. I was born in Scottsdale, Arizona in 1962. I was the fourth child, 2 older sisters and a brother. We had a nice little place in a nice neighborhood. In 1973, we moved to Tempe, and I started 6th grade there, and that's when I met the bad kids. My best friend in 6th grade was a guy named Bobby D. And I don't even know how, but we discovered my dad's liquor cabinet. And by the way, my dad didn't drink very much. He only occasionally, and my mom drinks like a glass of wine at dinner, but they weren't drinkers. My mom's father, however, was an alcoholic. He owned a restaurant here in Prescott, the Old Mill for some of the older people here. So Bobby D and I took a little bit out of each bottle from my dad's cabinet and mixed it all together and drank it. And so at age 12, that was my first drunk. And it felt good. I liked it. In junior high, I was introduced to drugs. And so that got me by until I had a friend that looked older that could buy beer for us. But a couple of little things here I'd like to share is I was interested in the industrial arts, and our high school had a really great program, and I was interested in welding, and we had these welding booths that had a fan and a curtain, and you could smoke weed in there all day long and nobody would know. So yeah, I did that a lot in school. I did graduate. I wasn't a stellar student, but we partied a lot, and we drank when we could. Like I said, later on in high school, I had a friend that looked a lot older than me, and he could buy beer at some of the places in town. At age 17, I was in my truck with a friend of mine after a day of drinking in Prescott. We were heading back to Phoenix, and I got pulled over by DPS. My friend was passed out in the passenger seat with a half-drunk bottle of Bud between his legs. And the officer came to the window, and we talked a minute. He got me out of the truck. We walked around for a little bit, and he said, "What's wrong with your friend?" I said, "He's sleeping." And he let me go. So that's kind of how my whole, all those near misses for me. However, this next one wasn't. At age 18, I rolled a car in front of Yavapai College entrance, and I was blacked out drunk. That was ended up in a night in jail and a DUI. So I'm getting, already I know that something's wrong with me, right? So, and then when I turned 19, that was 1981. That was the legal drinking age for Arizona, and my best friend, the guy that I rolled the car with, I was driving, by the way, but he took me to a club pretty close to our house, and they played live music. And I found my dream job. I got so drunk that I was about 4 hours late for work the next morning, puking my guts out all day long. I felt horrible. But, this started a cycle of many years of the same. So dream job, yeah, I decided that I'm going to join a band and play in bars, and that way I can drink and make money. That didn't really always work out that way. There was a place in Tempe called the Upstairs Pub I used to play in, and he would pay me in beer. And they only served one kind of beer. It was a little place, but so that's how my as a young man, that living around ASU, there was always something to do, and there was always people to party with, and drugs galore, whatever you wanted. So at age 23, I got married, and I had kids. I had 2 wonderful boys, and that marriage lasted about 4 years. My ex-wife was the daughter of 2 alcoholics. Her mother died early. She was about 12 of alcoholism, and her father was killed later in a car crash. So she was a big-time Al-Anon before I knew what that even meant. So after that, I moved into this dinky little travel trailer. It was all I could afford, and my car got repoed. I had a Jeep, and the trailer park was the oldest trailer park in Arizona, if I get that right. It's been a long time now, but I think that's how it was built. But it was across from the Pecos Lounge. So with whatever spare change I could gather up, I'd go to the Pecos Lounge every night and stay there until closing time, get a few hours of sleep, and then go to my job as a truck driver the next day with a hangover. I did that for years. Not good. After, in 1990, I married my current wife, who stayed with me we just celebrated 30 years. And she's seen me go from a somewhat functioning alcoholic that held a job to towards the end was I was just sick all the time. Didn't want to. I've lost interest in everything that I was ever passionate about. All I could do was drink. I got a kind of the perfect retirement job, which left me by myself a lot, and so I was isolated and didn't really have any accountability. So I drank all day. After a period of that, about 3 years of that, my wife was finally tired of coming home seeing me passed out and blacked out, and she finally got my attention. That's what did it. All the other stuff that I'd been through never, it just never occurred to me that there was a problem. And I did see it, and I knew, and I wanted to stop. I just didn't know how. So we took the first step on February 11th. I checked myself into detox. I was there till the 14th. And before I could get out, the doctor would see me every day. And he would make me hold my hands out. And I was one of these guys that was like this all the time. And after about 4 days, the shaking went away. But he asked me, what are you going to do for follow-up care? And I said, I don't know. What are my options? And he gave me a few, and I thought, well, AA sounds like the easy way to go. I didn't want to check myself into another long-term program or something like that, I wanted to go home. But so without a plan, really, on the way home from the detox, I had to do two things. I wanted some Mexican food, and I wanted to go by Intergroup and buy the big book, and I did that. And I had seen it in detox, and I thumbed through it a little bit, but I really didn't know what was in store for me. The next morning, February 15th, my landlady caught me outside and said, here, this is a friend of mine, he's visiting from New York, give him a call. And I said, right now? And she said, yeah. So I called him. I've met this guy one other time. I called him up and he said, hey buddy, I'm in town. I'm going to go to an AA meeting. You want to go with me? And I said, yeah, but I can't drive. I'm still pretty shaky. And he said, I'll come get you. So he came and got me and drove me downstairs here to the 123 group. And there I met Isaac B. and Pat M. If I got that right, Pat M. And they were all over me because I was sick. I looked pretty sick, and they were like, the new guy, the sick guy, let's get him. So, I was really impressed. Isaac was a speaker, and I was like, man, this is crazy. How does this guy know my entire life story, Yeah, it was really, it sucked me in, and I thought, well, this might be something I could do. I never, like a lot of us, I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. And in there, I felt comfortable, and, with people that understood what I had just gone through. The next day, which was Sunday, I came to this room, to the men's stag. And I sat in the back, of course, the new guys do that. And I was looking down, and Isaac B. came over and said, Chris, I want you to meet a friend of mine. And it was John E. And John E. dated my sister when I was in grade school. It's a long time ago. So my family has known John E. for many, many years. He drank a lot of beer in my grandpa's restaurant, too, before he got sober. So I immediately recognized him. We smiled at each other, and I said, would you be my sponsor? So the first meeting, the second meeting, Miracle 1 and Miracle 2. So I didn't really realize how this was setting me up for success until later on when my head cleared. So the third day, I decided I could drive myself, and I picked out, looked at the list, and I said, Safe Harbor. I know right where that's at. There's a lunchtime meeting. It fits my schedule perfectly. So February in the 16th or 17th, I came to the lunch bunch, and that's my home group. I've been going to the lunch bunch almost every day since then. If I'm not there, somebody calls me or texts me and say, hey, what's up? So I had a couple of slips briefly, thank God. The second one, though, ended up in another detox, which that sort of got my attention. I realized that I need to take this seriously. I went to my sponsor and I said, you know, what did I miss? We worked it out. I started taking it seriously. I started looking around, watching people, watching these guys with some time, looking at what they did. How do these people act? What do they say? That's how I got my inspiration to be better, is watching these people that have some time. There's a lot of great sobriety in this town, and I've met some really, really cool people that are just a phone call away, and it's amazing. And that's so my success today. February 1st, I'll have 6 months. Where February 14th would have been a year if I'd have kept that day. That was such a perfect day to have as my birthday. But so it took what it took in my case, and right now I feel really good. I'm staying connected as well as I can. I go to a meeting every day. I share at every meeting, almost every meeting. Some days there isn't an opportunity, but when I have the opportunity, I share at a meeting. I participate. I'm the Friday chairperson at the lunch bunch. I try to be of service when I can. I'm working with a couple of guys right now too. Is that it? Okay, great. Wow. Yeah, I was running out of things to say. So in conclusion, thanks you guys. It's been really great to get to know each and every one of you and to be part of this fellowship. It's really saved my butt, and I like it. Thanks.
And now, for our grand finale, I would like to introduce the old timer of our trio. Please help me welcome the very nervous Hayley.
Hello, I'm Hayley. I'm an alcoholic. And I am very nervous to be up here. This is the first time I've ever done this, spoke in front of people. And so please bear with me for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to try to talk and breathe at the same time, and that's going to be really hard for me. So I've been sober since May 17th, 2020. I'm going on 9 months, and I guess I'll start with my experience. So I was born in Portland, Oregon in 1999. And then I lived there for about 3 years, and then we moved down to a little town south of Portland called Eugene, and it was beautiful. I remember amazing things from my childhood. It was so green. We lived on 5 acres of land, and I just remember having so much fun as a child. I have 2 parents. They're still married, and I have 3 siblings, and when I was a kid, we had a pool and we had a tree house, and we had zip lines, and I just remember I felt like true peace there. My dad was an engineer, and he worked a lot, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I just remember from my childhood, I remember my dad, when he came home from work, he did work a lot of hours. And when he came home, he would be on the computer. He would work from home sometimes, or he would be outside doing projects out there. And I remember as a little girl going up to him and just wanting to talk to him, wanting to have like little girl conversations with him, whatever. And I think I think when I was a kid, I perceived that he didn't really want to hear what I had to say. You know, he never asked questions. He didn't really engage me like I think a little girl needed to be engaged. So, you know, going into life, you know, getting a little bit older, I think that really affected me in such a big way. Because of that relationship, I had this deep sense of worthlessness, and I carried that until, you know, that still affects me today. And coming into Alcoholics Anonymous, I felt like I hadn't experienced enough pain to be able to actually call myself an alcoholic. Because looking back on my childhood, nothing really seemed that off. I would rationalize my relationship with my dad and say things to myself like, you know, his parents weren't supportive, so he can't really give me something that he never had. And, you know, now as an adult, I look back and I see what effect that actually did have on me. I've, for so many years, ran away from myself. You know, before I discovered alcohol and before I discovered substances, I really, I did a lot of things to escape. When I was a kid, it started with just being outside, you know, being out of the house, spending time alone, jumping on the trampoline for hours. I was homeschooled too when I was a kid, so there was a lot of stress in my house because my mom, she had to take care of us kids, teach us, and I think she felt like she had to take the role of my dad in a way, emotionally at least. So that was really hard on me. So about 3 years ago, I really just kind of dove into trying to escape myself. I started drinking, I started using drugs, and, you know, at first, I think like it starts for everybody, it was just a social thing, you know. It started in one of my friend's apartments. We were drinking and using, and it was good, and then I got to a point where I couldn't stop. You know, I had become absolutely dependent. My parents tried to support me as best they could. We tried to wean off alcohol, substances, whatever I was on, and it was so hard on them. And I think now, you know, I've been sober for about 8 months. Now I look back and I see really the turmoil that I put them through, and I am so grateful that they were there, because if they had not been there, I really don't think I'd be here. So coming into AA, I was really mixed up in the head. I was really confused about my past. Like I said, I really didn't think I belonged here. I didn't think I had anything to complain about, and I really didn't think I was worthy of complaining. I didn't think I was really even worthy of being an alcoholic. And to this day, sometimes I catch myself, you know, rationalizing how you know, I was treated, and just telling myself that, you know, it wasn't that bad. But to this day, there is a little girl inside me that is screaming and crying for the love and attention that I don't feel like I really got as a little girl. But you know, being in this program and being around such loving and caring people and hearing people's stories, it means so much to me when people get up here and share their story. It's hard. It's hard for me to even share in meetings, but each time I share, I feel like I'm healing in a certain way. And it's helped me so much. So I think with the steps and with my sponsor, you know, I'm in treatment, we have therapists, I'm beginning to heal. And I think one of the things that's been so important to me is just developing a relationship with my God. I grew up Christian. I had a pretty fundamental view of God. We went to church every single Sunday, and I just never really, you know, I never really connected with God. It just seemed, he seemed so distant. So when I got here, the God of your understanding meant so much to me, because I could choose what I needed from my God. And what I've discovered is that I just really wanted a father, someone that loved me and can take care of me, and is kind and caring. And I'm finding that, in these rooms. I'm finding that in my God, and I'm finding that in all of you people, because we all share something. We all share the same disease. And, I only have 8 months, and, there are people in here that have 29 years, but we still share the same disease, and we can help each other. So I would say now and I'm still learning, it's a process, but now I can tell that little girl that, as much as I may have needed my dad when I was a kid, I'm able to validate her and to tell her that she is worthy of being heard. And that, I have things that are important to say. And for the longest time, I didn't believe that. I've been ruled by insecurity for so long. And, I love hearing people talk, because a lot of times I do hear people and that they talk about their issues with their parents, and I just connect every single one of them. So thank you all for being here. I know it's not easy driving in the snow, so I do appreciate everyone here. And I want to thank the Rarely group, because, like I said, for everyone who gets up here, I identify so much with a lot of what you all have to say. So, thank you.
Let's give another big hand for our 3 speakers, Hayley, Chris, and Bob.